Okay,
I'm telling them.
kick-off time. So I'm glad to report that the live stream appears to be working this month. Just remember that we are being streamed live. Obviously the people in the public forum, you are nearer to the microphones than we are, so try not to say too many nasty things about it. Okay, so we're all here, so no apologies for absence. So first item will be to approve and authorise the signing of the minutes of the meeting held on the 1st of May. Are there any comments from the 1st of May?
No.
No.
None at all? Excellent. Next item is to approve and note the minutes of the Annual Parish Meeting. I don't think we can approve them, but we can note them.
Yes,
If we have
we can, you're right.
Okay. So if anyone's got any comments on that, or we can move on. Excellent. Right, next item is my update. So in terms of updates, first of all I'll start with the Cheshire East highways on Pickmere parking restrictions. So based on the correspondence we had today, the process is continuing as planned. The approvals to get approval for the formal consultation takes a minimum of 2 months. Although the plans and the scope of work for Pickmere is substantially bigger than would normally go to approval, so there may be a delay because of that. What they're saying is that the earliest they will hold the consultation now will be late summer. I think when talking to residents, you need to remind them that the Pickmere Parish Council has no legal powers or jurisdiction over Cheshire East highways, their roads, or their processes. Any dates that we've passed on as a council have been passed on in good faith from Cheshire East, and as you all know, the original date that they gave us for the formal consultation was October 2024. So there is significant slippage. Second item is that, as you're aware, we hold a surgery every last Tuesday in the month to allow residents to come and discuss with members of the council. Unfortunately, I've been informed at the last meeting that the people attending were subjected to inappropriate behaviour. As per our policy, no person is allowed to obstruct the transaction of business at a Pickmere Parish Council meeting or behave in an offensive or improper way. So I trust that will not be repeated. I'm also, I have to say, disappointed to have received an email to do with the numerous Facebook pages in Pickmere, where I'm reliably informed that the actions of current and former parish councils and individuals who are councillors or were councillors seems to be a source of criticism and comment, much of which is inaccurate and unwanted. So again, a little bit disappointed, but if we can try our best to make sure that the residents are informed, that would be appreciated. Just a quick update on the IROS. You probably remember some time ago that a contractor went onto the IROS and gained access through the lock gate to cut down a tree without the knowledge or approval of the council. I've been approached by 2 people in the village around further actions by residents where they've employed a contractor to do works on the IROS, neither of which were approved or notified to the council. As we're all aware, the council has a volunteer policy, so if people do want to do work on behalf of the village and clear things up, that's fine, but it needs to be put through the formal process, which Alison looks after. There is a volunteer form, and that's either approved by the clerk and the chair or comes to a full council meeting. But no one is allowed to do any work on Pickmere Parish Council land without the approval of the council. So I'd say any resident who becomes aware or thinks there's work going on Pickmere Parish Council land which is not approved by the council, they should contact either the clerk, the chair, the councillor or the police. And just to point out, if people do work on our land that they pay for, it's not covered by our insurance. They're responsible for any damage, injury or death resulting from their work. Okay. Our application for hotspot policing has been approved by Inspector Rogers, and the plan is to start in July. So probably to a little scratch of heads as to which weekends in July we want. But that will be going ahead. And you'll remember that I was requested by council to contact the chair of the warm welcome, which I did on the 20th of May, asking for a meeting between myself and the vice chairman to discuss feedback from a previous council meeting, including grant applications, but to date I've received no response. Everything else in my update is on the agenda. Okay, number 3, declaration of interests. Does anyone have any interest that they would like to declare?
No.
Nothing on this side? Okay, so I have one that I need to declare. So today we are discussing a planning application from the Farm Club. So I'm sure everyone is aware my company rents an office, not from the Farm Club, but from a related party to the Farm Club. So after taking advice, the advice is that when we come to the point at which that is discussed, I need to recuse myself from the meeting and the building. So I'll be going to make a cup of tea and handing over to the Vice Chair until that is completed. Public forum. Would anyone like to make a comment? Please.
Is it definite that the gates are going to be closed or open at the lake?
I think it's definite that the gates will be closed or open.
Is it the committee who's going to vote on this?
So that would be a... so just as this has been one of those things that's been spread around which is inaccurate and wrong. So this council made a decision to close the gates. As part of that decision, we agreed that we would revisit that in March 2025. As you'll probably be aware, we didn't revisit it in March 2025. So as required, I put it on onto the agenda for today. There is a report which nobody seems to have read, which outlines, I think in a very balanced way, the for and against, but it will be discussed by this council today and a decision will be made.
Have you had many objections?
Most interesting from certain roads, yes.
To open them, I mean.
Objections. There have been objections to open them.
Yeah. So how many objections is there objecting to being closed?
Objecting to being closed. No, it's a double negative. I've got to think about that.
I'm just asking because I live opposite, and I want those gates closed, kept closed.
Okay.
That's and a few others who aren't here tonight. But yeah,
Okay.
that's my info.
All objections have been shared with the council.
Okay.
I mean, as a proportion of the village, it's not a huge number, but they will all be considered. I'm
Okay.
assuming everyone's read them. Okay. Any other? No? Okay. So we'll move on to the report from Councillor Hague, which you should all have received in advance.
It's very short.
They're very short. So basically what we've got from Kate is the Waters Bridge update. That we are obviously aware it's been demolished, and I think as you posted that there might be some action at the bridge going on, so that's good. And then we had just an update from Kate on car parking charges, which I think has been put on the Facebook site of the council. So that's, I think, the entirety of the report. Kate says she's hoping to give a more, not a more, just a bigger report next month when maybe some other things happen. Okay. So moving on to finance. Hand over to the chair.
Choice of talk.
So, the detailed payments are in the appendix, table 1. Did anyone have any questions about any of the payments? There's one that I just wanted to note, which was the first one, the annual fee, and this is refunded later in the month on the 8th of May. This is that payment that I think was for the old website that I've now cancelled, so we got that refunded.
Just ask a question. More for our check-up. It's good to see that there's payments coming in from the village hall hire. So it's nice to see that. I just wonder, it might be useful for us to see which are the regular payments and which are the one-offs, to see what the balance is between that, just as an ongoing. Might
So,
be interesting to see that.
If it's whether that's, so you want to see
Just
which type of hire it is, whether
Yeah.
it's regular or whether it's, I guess,
hoc.
ad hoc, or do you
Yeah.
want specific?
No, not specific. I just think it would be interesting for us to be able to see what are the regulars and what are the ad hoc ones. I think, I mean, it is good that it's being hired out. So
I think most of them are regular.
yeah, I think they are. It was just more. I think it would be nice for us to see what.
I can break it down.
Brilliant, thank you.
Just going off this, there's only one, I think, that is ad hoc
Yeah.
from this payment, and that's the second from the bottom, £16.
No, I think it's good that we've got this regular income coming. That's the thing. It'd just be interesting to see how things change over the month, whether it's
I'll break it down for the
seasonal.
next meeting.
Thank you.
It's been a dramatic increase over the sort of 2 years since I think Brian's worked very hard getting new people in.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lorraine.
You're welcome. I quite enjoyed it.
So then there's the new payments. So I have, it's mainly in the box there, pay plus tax. I have received an invoice which was already, well, the quote was for the, approved, and this is for the electrical condition report. So it's passed now, the electrical.
Did I understand it that it wasn't passed first of all? There was an issue.
Yeah, so it was, we had an assessment and then it didn't pass, and then now the work's been done,
Right.
and it's passed.
That's the grounding of the earth.
So it was a few different things,
Okay.
but
Doesn't matter.
yeah, it's passed.
Sorry,
And the invoice for that is 63265. It's just whether or not it's okay. And then these have already been agreed, haven't they? The paint and the lock, the new lock, those payments previously. So I don't know if I need to add them into the new payments.
They're to be paid, or
So they're to be paid
Yes, they need to. They've approved the payment, they've been to approve we've approved the order of the products,
Mm-hmm.
just need to approve the payment.
I think that is everything in the new payments. Haven't received anything else currently.
Did we resolve the issue with the neighbourhood plan website? Is that?
So in the last emails I got, it was I can't amend anything through Wix. It would have to be through Peter. So whether or not you want to cancel it and see what would happen there, and then I can then get it myself through the council's things, but that I couldn't even ask them about it and how it would work. So it would just be a conversation with yourself. I can do that one.
Well, I think probably to know if this is a charge for cancelling it, then we'll be more or equal to the VAT.
Couldn't Peter just, as he's just transfer the council details onto the account as the payment, rather than, because if he's got sole access, if he's got access to it, then he can change the account on it, can't he? He can change the payment type.
Yeah.
You know, if I
Clark can't find out, because
no, but I
And
mean,
they
what
talk
they could do is they could do that. When they sit down together, you could do it on the online while you're sitting together, couldn't you?
all he needs to do is change the address and
Yeah, that's what I mean.
the name. They need to be there together.
That was the only thing they'd said, that they can't reissue or amend an invoice. So it would be, if we wanted an invoice that had Pickmere Parish Council on it, we would have to then cancel and then reissue it.
Can we still claim the VAT then?
Probably.
Should be able to, yeah. If we've got the invoice, if Pete's paid it, paid the VAT, and passed the invoice
Well,
through to you,
There are
Paid
two,
in advance, yeah.
yeah, it should be able to.
there are two issues here. Who owns the website, which currently is Peter, and therefore if Peter owns the website, you can't cover the VAT on it. If Pickmere Parish Council owns the website, then we can.
I need to get it transferred over, but I think.
I mean, the other option is,
I was under the impression if you've made a payment though, and you're claiming the money back, the council can still claim the back, because they'll have made.
That's how we did it last year.
Yeah.
but only if you're paying it on behalf of Pickmere Parish Council.
Just did the same thing last year. I don't know how that worked out then, but it was just automatically, we just did the same thing again this year.
But generally, councillors shouldn't make payments on behalf of the council. It's not good practice.
I think it was the way that Wix were setting it up, that we were unable to do that. For some reason, I don't remember. I don't,
But then, clerk's an employee, so that would have made it easier if the clerk had done it.
Mm.
And we have discussed this in the past, that, you know, unless it's impossible, the council should pay. And if it is impossible, just ask the clerk to give you permission.
and how much was the VAT portion on it actually?
Be 20% of whatever the...
It was £126, wasn't it? 124, something like that.
There was
So
120 and
25
then
quid.
£18.91.
But I think, I mean, what it says is, I mean, it is something we agreed to do. The downside is we may lose 25 quid on the deal,
Mm.
but if we can't work it any other way, then I think we'll pay the 25 quid.
We can change it, can't we, for the next year or whenever.
Yeah.
And learn that.
But I think the
Unfortunately,
general
by
point is
hindsight, haven't we?
Yeah, don't go out and buy things on
No.
behalf of the council.
We've kind of learned by hindsight, haven't we?
Okay, so if everyone's, I don't want to take, well, anyone wants me to take it, but, so the idea is that Peter will see if he can change the information on the account personally, Clark can't. If not, we'll swallow the 25 quid if we can't recover it. But that's a financial question. Okay, so.
agreed. Does that need to be agreed?
Yeah, everyone agree with that?
Yeah, sure.
No, we don't.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so then there was we had the internal audit, and we had the report, which I sent just about a month ago. So there were two things on this, which are our recommendations. One is the practice of including the scribe transaction reference in the PDF file name, which I wasn't aware of and I will do from now on. And annually the council needs to comply with regulation 15 of the accounts and audit regulations to make proper provision for the exercise of public rights for the annual accounts. So this is the exercise of public rights is a form that goes off on the notice boards and the website that details dates where residents can apply to have a look or request to have a look at the finances for the last year. The particular form that was used last year was not the appropriate form. It was, I think, a notification of the dates rather than the actual, which is something that usually gets sent to the external auditor rather than the actual exercise of public rights official form. That actually has to be on the website. So yeah, so it was just to, because it has, so the form that was put up didn't have the announcement date, so you have to announce the date of when you are putting this form out. And so that wasn't on that form, and that's what it says.
So if people request, do they request, is it you that deals
Yeah.
with it? Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
So this is the right form, and that's
So that is the right form.
this form's on the
That'll be on the website,
website.
on the notice boards.
We did it last year.
Okay.
Between five.
Oh, okay.
I've not got time, so we came to the hall and sat with people and she gave us the accounts.
Oh, I thought you were admitting to doing the form.
No, I think there was
Reviewing.
definitely Amanda. It had her signature. Okay. Yeah, it can be councillors, I know,
Yeah.
Yeah,
especially if like the clerk's on holiday.
Yeah.
it's not in July, isn't
Yeah, so it has to be 30 working days, and 10 of those working days have to be the first 10 of July. And it has to be done before the end of July.
Yes.
Yeah, those are the two recommendations from the internal audit, which we'll make sure get sorted. Then there's the annual government's statement for 2024. So these are the forms that I will need to sign, and so will Ewan. And these will then get sent, and they get published on the website, and I send them off to the external auditor as well. So these detail the annual, the accounts for this year and for last year. They show the differences, and it also shows the certificate from the internal auditor report. So we sign that at the end. if you want.
So has everyone seen these? Yeah.
Last year.
Okay.
So yeah, so that is the annual government statement and the annual accounting statement. And yeah, once I've signed them, I'll put them up on the website.
Thank you.
And that's it.
Okay. Very good. All right. So next we move on to planning matters. So the first one is the land off Spinks Lane. So if anyone has any comments they want to make on that particular one?
Not been down there yet, so. Did you walk down Spinks Lane?
I have.
I have.
There seems to be a bit.
Not in the last
few weeks now.
There seems to be a little bit of, right at the very end, it's all been cleared, and they looked like some, you know, some contractors, big machinery there.
Sorry, are we talking about the planning application, or are we talking about the item later in the agenda with the...
We should be talking about the planning application.
Well, yeah,
So the planning application is the amendment, so it's the one that went through of changing the barn to a residence
Yeah.
that got approved,
Yeah.
and now they're just asking to change some windows to doors and
Yeah.
slight issues like that.
yeah.
All right, okay, so if it's already been approved.
I didn't see any.
No.
Okay. So, no one's got any issue with that one? Okay, so the next one is the one that I need to recuse myself for. So Chris, can I hand over the chair to you? If you could give me time to leave the room, I would appreciate it. Is the report that I'm reading?
Yeah.
Thank you. Right, so first of all, I hope you've all read Nick's report about the big issue, and I want to publicly thank Nick for that, detailed and so from my side, so very well put for both sides. So does anybody have any comments about that, please?
About the road going on to Pickmere Lane? From the park,
I'm
from
not
the
sure we're
caravan
allowed.
park?
I'm sorry, Darren, you can't.
Oh, sorry.
No, you had your time.
Oh, is that it?
Yes,
All
that's
right,
it.
okay, I'll make sure next time.
Yeah. You could have been less bored and gone earlier, couldn't you? So going back to this, then, are there no comments at all? We're not going to.
Oh, it's just inappropriate development of the green belt, and there's no.
So the question actually is,
It's a huge road.
having read Nick's report for the council, do we accept that? Does anybody see anything in there that we should either be adding to or taking away?
I think we can't actually say about future development. I think that's one of the things you can't comment on, really.
No, I don't
Well,
think.
is the council putting anything in? Sorry, Nick.
No, go ahead.
No, it's fine, you can
please.
Ladies first.
Are the council putting anything forward? I mean, not
done a big report, haven't they?
yeah, I just meant, I know we can't be too specific, but surely we can put something forward
Yes.
what the village,
Yes.
We just
you know, because it's,
Yes, we do. We
Yeah.
Of course, it's the bigger picture we look at, not
that's
the
what I mean.
not
Can
the
we
individuals and
put
the house and
that-
so on. It's
are we
obviously-
putting something?
Well, this is what we're getting to. This
Yes.
is why at the end of this, I want to know whether we take forward Nick's proposal, his report,
I think it's brilliant.
and put that in. I don't see anything on there that we should not be doing. Particularly the major point, of course, it being green belt. That's the biggie. No.
Well,
The problem we're facing, of course, is that where you look at the location of it, is, I mean, if you look at what's happening around the country with the change of the rules,
Yes.
there is a very high chance that where the location is, that it could be snapped up quite quickly for building, and have the green belt status removed. Yeah, it's a difficult one, because I think that is a potential for the future. So when you look at it from that perspective, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I think the plan is good or anything, but is that possibly a way of preventing it happening, or is it perhaps something that's moving it forward to that position?
There is-
That's a good point.
Yeah.
There is currently, I mean, you mentioned the KELPS report, the Cheshire East Local Plan. Well, there is currently now, from government, they are changing the national framework, planning framework, and they are currently, Cheshire East will be putting through a supplementary planning development plan. That's due to come out, the draft of it is due to come out later this year. We don't know what's going to be in there, but that's always been a concern and a worry of the neighbourhood plan team, is that a lot of the land around here, although we are in an infill village, you know, other various bits of land could be taken. I mean, it's happened in the past in Pickmere. Wellfield was compulsorily purchased to be built.
Yes.
So there is a worry on that as well. There is always that concern.
But if that's the case, Alison, then that's going to happen anyway. There's nothing that we can do about it. If government, you only have to look at developments that have happened in Northwich, where for years and years it was thrown out and all of a sudden it's being built on.
Yes, I'm just saying
on the
that
Dane
this
Valley.
will be coming through. That's something we should be aware of. That the only things we can actually object to are that it is green belt. That's what the neighbourhood plan's been trying to protect.
And the road itself that it's been put on. Surely the road, you know, that has some implication, you know, that...
Trouble is
The
the
road's
the
not
road's
ours, not our responsibility,
the
it's
road
not in
is
our area.
Cheshire West.
well,
But I think we can
yeah,
still surely...
surely...
We
Oh,
can
yeah.
still,
Yeah.
yes, we can
They-
still
we
include that in our
we
objection.
can't just ignore it, I don't think.
No.
I mean, the problem is we can't, the road being Cheshire West, it's something that isn't ours, but the fact is the opening of it then goes on to impact where we are.
Yeah,
or
of course it
Pickmere.
does.
So it does have some impact, and we can comment on it from that point of view, I would think, as a council, saying that anything that comes off that road is inherently going
And why-
to impact us.
And why do they need a road that wide, that big? You know, at the moment, you've got to look at the... I understand that they may have feelings that they're not going to get things down Clover Drive, but I don't actually know, and I would like to see evidence that anything's ever been stopped from getting down there. Because if I understand that they've got these big trailers coming in, but they are all companies who are fetching the trailers in, so surely... and the big mobile homes, you know, so surely they can work within a period of time. If it was my business and I was delivering these big trailers down there, I'd be down there, you know, at 8 o'clock in the morning, sort of thing.
At 6, I think.
They did actually.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
They did
So
one
that's
time
what I'm
push that
saying.
back, yeah.
You would work to how you thought that the situation would be, but you to put a big road in instead of that when nothing's ever not got down there.
Well, currently there are 80 lodges, caravans on the site.
Of
and
course.
How they've all been delivered, Clover Drive, haven't they?
And other ones taken away.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Well, it's a means to an end, of course, isn't
And
it?
things are getting bigger as well.
Yeah.
Those things, the size of them is growing.
I think the only thing for me as well is the fact that when they did the report, I mean, yes, there are wildlife corridors that have already been destroyed when they cut the trees down.
Yes.
And the habitat and distinctiveness, they're now saying is poor. It wasn't poor, it was classed as medium. And it was up to us, or Pickmere generally, to try and improve these areas, which is what the plan was.
How important is it on Nick's evidence of the before and now difference in the trees, the bushes and the road?
significant.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Significant.
I've brought these plans along, if anybody wants to
It is-
see
it
them,
is significant.
of where the highlighted area of the actual habitat distinctiveness and then the wildlife corridors.
So, do we believe that that impacts on us
Yes.
here, although it's
Yes.
in Cheshire
Yes.
West,
Mm.
so it directly impacts on us?
Of course, yeah, it's going to.
Oh, right, right.
The road itself is actually going very near the pond, the lake. The survey that was done on that, I think, was done in November.
Yes.
There's been no survey for newts, has there?
One thing that interested me was that I believe Winsham have done their own report, quite an extensive report.
Yeah, they have.
Has anybody read it? So, if the planning people are looking at this and they see some correlation between the two, then why wouldn't we, of course, talk to each other? But it'd be nice if we both had our own views about this, obviously, from the different. Has anybody seen that report? Does it blend in with ours?
Not seen it.
I don't know. Okay, I think we should look at that.
A good request. Is that? I'm assuming that would have been.
It's
Well,
not
we-
on
we've
the
only-
trouble
we've
is
only-
we don't
we've
have a
only
huge
got
amount of time.
No.
We've got to
That's
the
the
9th,
problem.
haven't we, to get the
Well,
last
Realistic.
objection in on the 9th.
yes,
So
but
realistically, we
non-
have to make a
Objections
decision
and
today.
comments.
It's
Yeah.
comments,
Comments,
Is
yeah.
that, what I don't know, is that when it's the 9th, is that the morning of the 9th or the evening of the 9th?
I
Do
would
we
say
know
the
that?
evening, surely, it's
Hmm?
by close of
No.
business. You don't think so?
No.
Close of play, isn't
You
it?
don't?
I thought it was midday
It's
actually,
close
but it
of
doesn't say
I
on
would,
the
I would
Yeah.
say
End of-
close of
End
business.
of, end of the day it is.
End of the day? Well, I
Yeah,
would
I
hope
would
so,
thought.
yes.
Probably 5.
Okay. And also I understand that they closed the submissions for a while, but it's open again now. Is
Yeah, well,
right?
that was that. I mean, even that to me, surely they should be pulled on that, because I know that people rang up and they rang up and actually wanted to put objections, Peter, not objections, sorry,
Comments.
reporting,
Comments.
comments in, and they were told that it had been closed and that they couldn't do anything about
Well,
it.
apparently I've heard today that it's open again.
It is open again, but even that, it's actually, I think it's very badly delivered by Cheshire
I believe
East.
so, yes.
Very, very badly delivered. And to even have that where people actually then think, oh gosh, we can't, put a report in about it.
Okay.
One of the other things, the road is going to create traffic generation across what is basically a green belt field, and then the noise and disturbance from skiing, and it's an intrusion into the open countryside and green belt.
That's the point. I don't think.
There has been.
There are 80 units on there, and they can have 2 vehicles each. So there's 160 vehicles potentially.
And I think the
moving
lodges
back
are, I
to
think
back to
the lodges are 11.5 weeks a year. They're allowed to have
Yes,
that.
I saw that, yeah.
months.
11.5 months, sorry, yes. 11.5 months a year, so it's
Okay.
a long time.
So Nick, in conclusion, is there anything you think we should add to your report, or?
Well, so obviously, I think as standard, we always object to inappropriate development on greenbelt land, and I can't see any justification from the many documents they put in to justify why
No
there should
special
be.
reasons.
I can't say. I mean, they mention certain special circumstances, but I don't think they provide any evidence that they meet any of those. So I see that this is, as Peter says, unwarranted development on greenbelt land. I think there are various questions that we should, be raising as well as that comment around. I mean, there are multiple inconsistencies
Yes.
across the various documents which we've talked about, and I think we should probably be raising questions along those lines as well.
What time is our enemy, of course?
Well, I think
Have you almost put it together anyway, Nick, do you think?
well, I think at the end
Probably
at the end of the thing I put together, there's a long list of 10 or 12
Yeah.
questions that can be put in as comments, pointing out various deficiencies or problems in addition to the very one of the greenbelt, which
Right.
I think we need to raise the issues around the baseline biodiversity survey, which has been done. I mean, the timing of the documents. So the plan for the entrance, which is pretty detailed with various planting that's going to be done to provide some of the biodiversity net gain, which is a requirement of a development like this. It shows the existing trees that are being retained,
Yes.
and it shows new planting. but the existing trees that they show in that document are the trees that are there now, and that document is dated 2021. In 2021, as you can see from Google Maps, Street View and Aerial View, there were many more
Yes.
green plants and trees on that site. So in 2021 they somehow knew that a lot of those trees were going to disappear and not be there now. So I think that needs to be flagged up. That, you know, those changes have happened, you know, and they happened 3 years after that plan was drawn up, but some 6 months or more before the biodiversity baseline survey was done. Another thing Alison mentioned about the pond, there is a comment in there about Great Crested Newt survey not being required because the pond is totally overgrown with pondweed. But they're talking about the small pond,
Yeah.
which is as close to the proposed road as the large fishing pond. And there's no comment about the large fishing pond or whether that's got Great Crested Newts. And anyone who lives anywhere near there or walks anywhere near there, there's loads of amphibian life around there. So to just ignore it and imagine there's no Great Crested Newts without even looking in the appropriate months is ridiculous.
Is there any chance that the planning group could get together to finalise our comment or our letter to council then? Prior
That's,
to
well,
the
that's
deadline?
Ewan's on the planning group, isn't he? And he obviously can't be part of that.
Chris,
Chris can, yeah.
Yes,
so the three people get together.
well, again, that comes back to, you know, it's the timescale we've got here now. So unless somebody's going to, well, that's a good idea. Yes, to get together like now and decide what you're going to flag up. Just 1 second. So first of all, do we accept that Nick's report, we want that to go in its entirety?
Yes.
I would say yes.
I would say for sure.
Okay, can I
Maybe
have,
some things adding to it.
can I have a vote on that, please? Just to,
Yeah, we could
so
add
the-
some things to it.
The report.
okay. Is that unanimous? Anybody? Right, thank you. So now we want to add to that with Nick's advice in there, and we need to do it immediately. So when can the planning group get together to put something together for me, please?
These two, yeah.
Vice Chair, it's slightly unorthodox, but I just wonder whether we do have people in the audience who know a lot about planning. Is it worth getting input if people wanted to offer any?
If
Is
that,
that a
if that
reasonable
person
thing?
would help us, then it would be very welcome, yes, outside of this particular meeting, yes.
I don't think it's necessarily, sorry, I mean, I see what you mean, but I don't think it's unorthodox to bring in advice for people. So I think it's a perfectly reasonable request.
Can we do it within the meeting?
I think the chair of the meeting can allow members of the public to speak if.
Hang on, I want to know from the clerk.
Yeah, the chair can allow people to speak.
Okay, fine, thank you. Any advice you could give us, please?
I think what you've said is good. If you were to look at the website, that's the Cheshire East Planning website, there are people also who have raised significant good issues. I would think that in your response, a big point should be the inconsistency and actually not legal is the fact that Cheshire East seem to be running a planning operation in a different borough, which is totally unheard of in my experience of planning.
I've got to say, I thought
So
it was really...
I can't understand how, A, they can send out a letter to the people in Cheshire West and Chester for comment when it's actually not in their jurisdiction. The whole scheme falls apart if there's a separate need for Cheshire West and Chester to run a planning application, because the road will go nowhere. So unless there is some undescribed, because at the moment I can't see anything on the websites that describe that Cheshire West and Chester and Cheshire East have come to an agreement about a single planning application. So as it stands, it would seem to me to be not a planning application.
Okay, right.
So I think we should raise it that you can't see how it can go forward to be a viable application unless that stage is...
Do you think we should add that as a flag? then?
I do. I think it's a comment which you're asked to do. Is how can this?
You can ask it in questions.
Yeah. How can this be happening? You know.
Okay.
I wouldn't, Vice Chair, would it be reasonable if I read out the questions that I was suggesting that
Yes.
we ask?
Yes.
Because I've thought of another one since that maybe others people might ask.
Yes.
So is that all right? I'll just very
Can
quickly.
I just want to one
Yeah.
comment about this, having read so many reports over the years. Enormous. Too much detail, of course.
Okay. Yeah.
Some people only have so much
Yeah.
that they can read, and then they
Okay.
switch off.
Yeah.
So I don't want to. I want to make sure we make it succinct.
Okay. Yeah. Well, so my first question I've suggested is why has this only been made to Cheshire East when a large part of it, certainly the entrance, the new road entrance is in Cheshire West? Why do the entrance plans, as I say, drawn up in 2021, only show the trees that are here now, not the ones that have disappeared in the meantime? What happened to the other veteran trees that have disappeared? What permissions were sought prior to removal of the veteran trees and hedgerows?
Sorry, I think the one there would be the hedgerows, not the trees. So there would be no requirement of them to get permission to remove the trees. Okay?
Okay.
But the hedgerows is a different thing.
Mm.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Why? So a lot of the biodiversity net gain planning, certainly a large number of those plants are non-native UK species, so why have they picked those? Because that doesn't necessarily help the biodiversity. Why has no Great Crested Newt survey been done on the large fishing pond? What plans have been undertaken to deal with drainage and flooding risk? Because we know that field floods in wet winters. What, if any, plans are there to light the road? Because if it's not lit, then you're going to have people with full beam driving across it in dusk and at night. What's that going to do for wildlife? What's it going to do for neighbours? How are the electric gates going to be powered? I know I've seen somebody's raised that. There's nothing at all about powering those electric gates, but they have no electric supply at that entrance. They've said that that entrance doesn't need to consider pedestrians or cyclists because pedestrians and cyclists will access footpath 7 from the existing gate. But they've also said the existing gate is going to be locked and will only be an emergency access gate. So how do those two things manifest?
Is there a footpath actually on that side by there?
No.
I know there's one on the opposite side, isn't there? But where they're actually putting it through, there isn't a footpath.
No.
Footpath 7 runs from Mere Lane, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Footpath 7, so it runs down the side of the
That's
the
it.
current, but there's no access onto the footpath
no
there,
entrance.
there's no plan, so how is that going to happen? And also just that in their report they pointed out that the two 90-degree bends on Clover Drive are very difficult for these large vehicles to get down. But the plans that they've drawn up they're going to come into the site through the entrance off the field, and then you've got an immediate, very sharp 90-degree bend, which is actually worse than the ones on Clover Drive. So what's the point? I don't really understand.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I think these are
Yes, I think that's why there's that extra little patch there, which isn't the road, the sort of rectangle just by it. I think that's a moving thing.
right. Okay.
To enable them to get around that sharp corner. But then again, it's extra use, extra loss of land, isn't it? Because
If I may just one other thing I could ask you. So part of comments is about also saying what you might accept, all right, in a way.
Mm.
So you could say that should the council be minded to, agree to this planning, then why is the road not a simple field gate with a road, a very simple road, across their field for the purpose of shifting the occasional large transport?
Yeah.
Straight from A to B.
Just A to B for
Yeah.
and not
And no landscaping.
and not tarmac.
No.
Essentially, it can be a hard standing,
Yeah.
which you use with a field gate,
Yep.
just to get from what they claim is the major reason for doing this in the first place. So you couch it in that if they are minded to, a suggestion would be to simplify the whole thing. Okay?
Mm.
Because it's been like this for 25 years. Because Clover Drive's been built 25 years.
Yeah, and I mean, one of those units that's just gone down there was an enormous thing, wasn't it? So You know, the last one of the last ones that went on
Might
there.
get bigger.
The trouble is, they're putting lodges on there now, and before it was caravans.
Like a
Even,
village.
even
So-
static caravans now have gone, I think they've gone from 8 to 14 foot wide.
Yeah.
But that big lodge, you know, the new one that's just, you know, that looks over the lake, I mean, that's enormous, isn't it?
Okay,
I think what Andrew said is very relevant.
absolutely,
Yes, I do.
absolutely, thank you.
Andrew.
Okay, I think we've got that sorted
Have you
out.
finished? Have you
So it's just
finished?
about, hang on, Jane, please. So we just need to arrange, or you need to arrange to get together to finalise this, and then who's going to submit this?
It would be me.
Well, But
Okay,
again-
you're okay with that?
Please take into
You
consideration
have to.
our
Yeah.
residents' comments as well.
Yeah,
Yes.
that always
As
goes
always,
on,
as
as
always.
it?
What, yes, do we?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
yeah, we always put that on there, if we're putting something forward.
Okay. Okay.
Residents' comments should be considered.
Don't we leave that to the residents to do on their own, though?
We don't put any comments on, we just
No.
refer them
We
to.
refer them to.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I beg your
what
pardon.
we're doing.
Okay.
We're saying, please take note of.
I apologise.
Yeah.
Residents' comments. Yeah.
I've got it here. Okay, so you guys happy to get together and then liaise with Clark? Yeah?
Yeah.
By Monday?
Yeah.
Preferably earlier than the close of play.
If Nick's available.
Well, that's vital, isn't it? Yes.
You've got my thoughts written down.
Okay. Okay, can we close that one down now?
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Pat, do you mind calling Ewan back in? Probably not supposed to do that, like, okay, back to the chair.
Okay, updates from previous meeting.
Sorry, so this is the appendix table 3. I haven't heard from the contractor who quoted to repair the window in here. So it's whether or not we go with a different quote. I know there was another
What was
one.
the difference in the prices? It's significant.
It was about 10. £10
But if they've not come back, just
If they've not come back, let's go to the next one.
Agreed.
Battery light has been installed now. It's just to put that on the list. That's been done. The purchase of the cabinet. So a lot of the websites that I've been to want, to do it through like a debit card. But I've managed to get one that is happy for us to do a backs payment, so I can send me an invoice and I will send out the payment if you guys are happy. I think it was 405 for that, and I think that includes delivery, I hope. And yep, so the condition report, the works have been completed and passed now. And I think the Lake Group have had their meeting. They've had their meeting now, haven't they? And you've had your a report.
Oh yeah, Lucy, I've got an update actually, if you don't mind. From United Utilities have emailed me back today. Sorry, let me just pull it up on here. So, they unfortunately didn't reply to my reply, but never mind. So, So United Utilities have been down, they've put safety fencing around their overflowing grid. They've done the CCTV survey, which, surprise, surprise, has shown that roots have grown in and blocked the drain. So they are still in the process of arranging to have those removed. They said that whoever it is that is coming to do the work has said that the issues of accessing the point where it is on the land is making it slightly harder than you had to. I don't quite understand. This is, as I say, they haven't replied to my reply, but I have asked them to liaise with you, because obviously where that work is either side of a public footpath. So we may actually have to close the public footpath to allow them to do work, particularly if they're getting big machinery in or whatever. So obviously that's going to have to be liaised with you to do, and also we probably, we need to let people know, don't we, if that's going to happen. So just so the people walking dogs.
Can I just ask, is it possible to have a report on some of the issues that are ongoing with the Lake Group? As a working group, shouldn't we be reporting
Yes.
back?
I think we've got to comment on it, haven't we, tonight?
Yes, so change it to circulate
A report?
a report in an email,
Right, okay.
Sorry.
which I'm going to move to the
Mm.
closed session because it contains quotes for
Right.
works.
Right. Also, can I just say about the, going back to the Waterless Brook, the survey, they have been out doing surveys there. I still keep chasing them, and it still promises me that you'll get back to me. But at least something has started there.
Sorry.
Nick, can I go back to your...
Yeah.
The bridge.
The bridge, the Waterless Brook bridge.
So the thing with which confused me
Yes.
is that, as I understand it, there is a private house which is pumping sewage into the runoff. Is that right?
So that was the other thing that I was about to say.
Yeah, okay,
Yes.
sorry.
Yeah, no, so just diverted, didn't we? So this was the bit that I've queried with her and she hasn't come back to me. So what the wording is that they've completed investigations relating to contaminated surface water and located foul water incorrectly connected to the surface water system. She said it's a private property in the area. She didn't want to give me the address. I suspect I know where it is because I've seen repeated Dynarod stroke United Utilities vehicles in the area over weeks and some months. But it's what I'm reading from this, although she doesn't specifically say it, is that some of these pipes have been connected to the wrong one.
Which these days is the responsibility of the homeowner. Is that right?
I don't know.
Depends what it is, doesn't it?
I don't know.
But
When it's not, if it's under the highway and not in your land, so if there's a leak, that's United Utilities' issue, isn't it? As soon as it's on your land, it's your issue. I don't know with
But
foul water and...
But it's been pumped incorrectly on your land, would be my guess. I don't know.
I guess so. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I suppose my question is, they've asked us to raise it.
So this is it. So yeah. So this is what I didn't understand. If you get a chance to assist us with communicating the importance of rectifying any issues such as this, it would be greatly appreciated. What do they want? What do they mean?
Could you all go home and check your...
Yes, I didn't understand
sewage.
what that meant. So that's why I've asked for some clarification what they mean. So
But
Just
they've
basically ask us
already
to chase it up.
identified where it's coming from.
in this case,
Yeah.
but it's almost like she's suggesting that we need to just ask everyone to check if their pipes are right. I didn't understand. So this is why I've asked for some clarification. It's don't know.
Because I read it a different way. It's like, we know this exists. Could you just let them know?
Oh.
We won't tell you who it is.
All right, no, I don't think that's what they meant. Yeah.
But
It's strangely worded. It's strangely worded. So, yeah.
because they put United Utilities were down there today.
Pardon?
United Utilities were down there today.
Down where?
The IROS.
Over there. Okay.
Yeah, so
My concern with this actually is that we know that parts of the surface water from Pickmere drain into Pickmere Lake.
Yeah.
So if somebody's sewage is going into surface water that then drains into Pickmere Lake, that's potentially a very big issue. But obviously we don't know, because we don't know where it is and we don't know.
Yeah.
So I think this probably leads us on to a further correspondence with United Utilities about exactly clarifying the 2 installations that are on the IROS, exactly what is draining from them, where are they draining from, where are they draining to. I've never found any of that information in any of the parish council. Do you know what I mean? There may be people locally who sort of know. One is obviously related to Jacob's Way, but this other one, I've heard various different things that, it drains the orchards, it drains the fishing pond on the Platts land, or it,
So I know for a fact, because it's on my deeds, that the fishing pond drains into the big lake and the pipe goes under our land.
But we don't know if it's the one that keeps blocking and overflowing for definite.
No, but when Peter does some action down at the lake, then the fishing lake goes down.
Okay, so it would
It's
suggest.
happened.
So I think we
think
should
twice.
get some clarification, because I think if there has been foul water draining into a supply that leads to Pickmere Lake, then the farm club needs to know if they keep putting swimmers in there. We need to put no, well, people shouldn't be swimming off our land anyway, but they do. I feel we should be warning. Well,
Yeah.
the thing is, if you think in the past when, beware of blue-green algae in this water
Yeah.
starting to run up, everyone just went, oh, you're trying to stop us swimming. So, I think if we put notices up saying, we think there's poo in the lake, I think lots of people will just think, oh, you're trying to stop us swimming. But I still think
If
we
you
may
could
be-
prove it.
I suppose the other thing, Nick, is there's lots of swimmers going in there and nobody's really shown any signs of illness, have they?
Well, we don't know, do we?
Yeah,
Well,
Well,
As far as we
they
know.
keep on coming back, so I've not heard anybody say that they've been drastically ill and this swim there.
but I don't think we can say there hasn't been a problem yet, so there won't be a
No,
problem.
Of course.
I think we should be getting some more info from United Utilities about it.
but I think certainly the responsible thing to do would be for us to, at least put it on our Facebook site, we've been informed by United Utilities that there's waste going into the lake. And
Well,
certainly-
we don't know it's going into the lake, so
But there's a possibility.
there's a, we know it's going
It's
to
the
the
runoff,
surface
so
water of.
where does the runoff go? Into the lake?
To the lake.
Go. It goes in the lake.
But we don't know where in the village it is, so not all of the surface water of the whole village goes into the lake, I don't think, does it? We know some areas do, but
But it does off Pickmere, off Clover Drive.
Was it worth just putting a note saying potentially there is?
Yeah. Yeah.
Put it on Facebook and then at least we've
So if I had
duty of care.
especially young children,
It's not hard to put a notice in, is it?
yeah, I think we should raise the possibility, and in the meantime find out more information from United Utilities.
that could be what we're thinking about. Okay,
Yeah.
so how about we on the actions?
Yes, so there was work scheduled on Frog Lane. I don't know if that is something anyone has seen, because that should have been
It's happened, yeah.
on the 19th of May.
Yeah.
Yes, it
Was it?
Yeah.
Or was it
It was
satisfactory?
a couple of days, I think it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was 2 or 3 days, actually.
They've done a bit of resurfacing. Is this what we're talking when they closed it, a little bit of
No,
resurfacing?
it's
They've
put
been
an
putting-
electrical cable in
It is
down
an
the side of
They've been
road.
dropping the electrical cable into the
Under-
underground.
Okay, right.
I spoke to them that day. But it has all been finished and it's all been returved and
And there's no resurfacing.
Has anyone heard, is that now it?
yes.
Because someone came to my door 3 weeks ago from whoever it is,
Good.
Scottish
Scottish
Power,
Power,
or whoever it is,
yeah.
SE Power or whoever they are, and said that at some point in June
It's
we're going
Friday.
to turn your power off.
Yeah,
So
there
I've not
is-
heard anything since.
It's on my calendar that
Yeah,
Mm.
the day
six,
goes
that's
off.
it.
They said the date might change, that
Right.
we will be updated.
Oh, right, because I've not seen any further.
Yeah.
He didn't give me a date, and
Yeah.
I've not seen any emails
No,
since. Is that
We got a letter.
I
the
got a
date.
letter and it had a date on for this
So the
Friday.
whole of
I
Pickmere
think.
will be without power on that day and
I
night.
think it's on Friday.
Tomorrow.
But he did say
Oh,
that
yeah.
he did
Sixth.
say that it could change. It might not be that day.
I didn't say that.
So on a random day, well, we don't know about it,
Oh, I know.
everyone's power's going off.
There's a man that was coming
Across
around
the way
there, so-
here, some of the overhead cables have been, same thing again, underground. And that's supposed to be happening in the next week or two.
Cool. But they're going to close that road anyway, so.
Oh, but it's just off this road.
Oh, okay.
It's in the fields behind. Going up to near close.
They're looking for the one road in Pickmere that hasn't been shut. Those plans around the Cheshire
Oh,
Show.
Cheshire Show, yeah. Don't go down there because you'll not get out.
And we know it's going to coincide with the Cheshire Show because it never happens on time.
Yes. Yeah.
So, right. So what I will do is I'll look on our calendar where the date is. I think we've thrown a letter already, and I'll post that date on as our best guess.
Is there any contact number on that? Could the clerk contact them and find out if there's an update so that we can
Yeah.
at least put an update out on our...
Why don't you contact him?
You said Scottish Power, was that?
Well, it was on the letter. Has anyone still got the letter? I haven't seen it.
We've not
Yeah,
had
if
the
someone
letter,
can
have we?
forward it to me,
Letter.
I
We've
will
not had the
contact
letter.
them.
I'll have a look. We had a knock at the door and a visit to the door and he said we should be getting the letter any time.
I'm sure I've had a letter.
Yeah, we've definitely had a letter.
Yeah,
Definitely not.
we have.
I don't think it's Friday though.
The 6th of June rings a bell.
So it could happen tomorrow.
I will do
But
it.
if not-
If it is tomorrow, I'll do it tonight. I promise. But I don't think it is. But I have been wrong before. Okay.
I think the other things are then on the agenda.
Oh, the fire safety report. What action are we taking on that? Or when are we taking action on it?
I guess it depends on what you would like me to implement. And I will implement it.
Wasn't there a group that we're going to get together and look at that? If not, there should be a group and decide what the priorities are. We obviously can't pay for it all at once. But we should start ticking them off.
Yeah, we should prioritise them.
Does someone want to take that as an action?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, all right.
I'll do it with some, I'll do it with you. I'll do it with Anne.
We just need to, I guess, some recommendations for council as to what the biggest priorities are and how much they'll cost.
We've
Can I
already,
involve Peter as well with
We've all
his
reached-
facilities management bit?
You
Well,
can't
because
do
you
it. Anyone
need
can.
to do it if, I was just
No.
because of, you know, that's fine, isn't it?
Okay.
That's fine. It's easier anyway, isn't it?
Well,
You can just
Yeah.
discuss it.
Or you could be there as the
Mediator,
licensing.
in case of killing.
Oh, you could probably charge.
No, I think the
It's a
more the
little-
better.
Counselling.
The more the better because you know
Okay,
the
well,
people
I'll
that
do
use
it.
the hall.
Yeah, all right.
The date for Scottish Power is the 11th of June.
Sounds familiar.
Next Wednesday.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll make a post. I assume that, I'm pretty sure we haven't got the letter anymore. I just assumed everyone got it. So. Okay, moving on. So we've now got notable correspondence from the clerk, which I think is a good thing. So the first item is a request to use the IROS for the fun day on the 31st of August.
Yeah.
I think Steve mentioned that before. So anyone would object to that?
No.
Okay.
oh, can I just bring as well?
Just object to that.
No, not an objection, but it was, we've already agreed to party by the lake.
Hmm.
Been asked that, can we make one car parking space available for the split?
Sure.
Obviously outside of the
Yeah,
gates.
where it was last year.
Yeah, so,
Normally just,
yeah, we just need a car parking space. Bollarding off.
Well, in my
The
mind,
day before, I think.
in my mind, if we rent out the IROS, it comes with all the things that go with the IROS, including the car parking spaces.
But if you want it outside the gate, then the easiest thing is probably someone parks their car there,
Yeah.
who is
Yeah.
available to move their car when the
Yeah.
skip turns up.
I think
Because any other way of blocking it off, someone will move, won't they?
I
Oh,
think
yeah,
I'd-
yeah.
Okay. Alrighty. So that's so we can go back to Stephen, so that's fine. The next item is obviously everyone's got some information, but without mentioning names, we did have a resident, young resident, who for their Duke of Edinburgh Award did some litter picking. Obviously that's happened in the past, and I think we've thanked those people. So I think we asked the clerk to thank the individual concerned for their efforts.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Also, just in addition, there's another young lad who's been doing it for his scouting award as well. So got an email, a text off his father asking for picking, because it's proving to be quite popular.
Yeah, well, yes. It's an easy one for the Duke of Edinburgh Award, for sure.
Well done for all the people dropping the litter to allow these people to.
Very kind of them.
Although I think we should
Very
apologise.
community-minded.
Yeah.
We thank them.
I think we'd have to apologise to this person for the unfortunate things they had to list with, but that's a different story.
Interesting is adding to the over 5 million hours of volunteering through Duke of Edinburgh in a year.
5 million.
5 million hours of volunteering from all the young people
Wow.
in 1 year. It's absolutely incredible, isn't it?
Okay.
So I've got that statistic today.
Okay, so I think going forward, if people are aware of people litter picking for any awards or scout badges, if the parish council find out, then we can thank them. The next one was a request for showground sound testing records. Obviously, this is not under the jurisdiction of Pickmere Parish Council, so we will, if we haven't already dispatched them to Cheshire East for those.
Yep.
You've also had an email about the sheeting erected on, it says Mere Lane, but on, I think it's on the path up by the cow crossing. Again, we have no jurisdiction on that particular thing. The only thing I suggest is Cheshire East Planning may or may not be interested, but it's certainly not us.
No.
So request for an update on Spinks Lane. So there were two. So the first one is asking about a rumour of a new static. I'm not sure as a council we should be responding to rumours. If there is a spotted static, then maybe we could do something about that. But if we respond to every rumour in Pickmere, we'd be in trouble. But there is one from a more informed person, I guess, about the Spink Lane traveller's site. And I think in a previous meeting we asked for a Cheshire East update on that. So I don't know if we had one, or we can ask for another one and remind them that we haven't had one.
Has this been flagged through our ward councillor recently?
Has it?
I'm asking, have we? If Cheshire East haven't come back to us, then I think we've got to at least escalate through the ward councillor, haven't we?
Yeah.
I mean, this is the matter that went all the way to Secretary of State, and then Cheshire East just never enforced it. Is that right? This is what we're...
Well, then
Basically.
did they tell us what the outcome was?
The Secretary of State, what I understand is the Secretary of State said, no, you can't have it there.
Okay.
And then it was down to Cheshire East to enforce it, but we're going back 6, 7 years?
More.
About 14 years
Okay.
before the start. But basically
2012?
it's gone through every stage, right up to the top, and they've said you can't have a site there, you can't have a site there.
But no,
And Cheshire East have basically turned around and said, we haven't got the money, time, and
Well, we do
to
have
enforce it.
again, we do have somebody here who's got the definitive answer for that.
that's basically
That's
it.
it.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
and they're, to me, my view is they're just not interested.
Okay. Well, all we can do is we can ask.
Just keep
Yeah,
going.
Mr. Chairman, do you want just to comment on
Right.
that bit?
Andrew was more
Well,
involved.
actually, here, Andrew, you might as well.
So, yes, Cheshire East did go all the way up to the Secretary of State, which was about the planning. But it did go to a court in Chester, of which I attended, where the occupants were given time to stay. Because at the time, there'd been a bereavement in the family, if you recall,
yeah.
and that has never been rescinded. So Cheshire East could pressure it, you know, they could now revisit it and say, situation has changed. But in truth, it wasn't Cheshire East that actually stopped the process of eviction. It was a court, a family court in Chester.
So I guess we could. Do you have any details on that court ruling?
Yes, well, I did at the time, and it was certainly provided by the lawyers out of Cheshire East.
Okay.
So it was, you know, a formal response.
Maybe we can ask them.
It may well be on the
Judgment.
parish council, you know, archive, in the sense of what we got back as a council
Okay.
to report at a meeting.
Okay. Interesting. I didn't know that. That's very interesting. Okay, and then there's the final one is a request for an update on recovery of fence monies. So I think we've all read this this email. I think I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind is councillors should be very careful about making any statements about the fence monies, especially as we may end up in court about it. I mean, I do find it amusing that I'm quoted saying all sorts of things which I never said. I think just be careful on that, but I don't think we will be making comment at the moment until we've come to a definitive situation of where we are legally. Suggestion from this person that we hand the IROS over to the plaques. Obviously, even if that were legally possible, which it isn't, I don't think it's likely to fly. And then there's some other stuff about the plats which I don't think is anything to do with the parish council. So I think I would suggest that we just write back and say this is ongoing, and if we have any information to share, we will. Unless anyone objects strongly.
Are we not going to have a vote on whether we, because I don't know whether we actually did that, are we going to have a vote on actually whether we spend the £250 and actually make an application to take it to court?
Right, so we had this discussion not so long ago, where we all agreed, or it was agreed, maybe not all agreed, we agreed that we had to collect some extra information before we could make a definitive decision whether we could go forward with the court case. Once we have that information, which is still missing, then we can take a decision whether it's worth pursuing. And that's the decision we made as a council. As far as I know, that hasn't changed. I think at some point we'll have to decide that maybe the information that would be definitive is not present and we'll never find it, and leave it at that and go or not go. But yeah, I think to say it's 250 quid is slightly naive. That's the cost of filing the application. If we end up in court, we'll need solicitors and we'll need a barrister. At some point, so there are other costs that we need to consider before we push the button on it. But I think it's worth.
In small claims court, you need that.
If it goes to court, yes. Well, we can turn up ourselves.
I once took someone to small claims court and successfully won.
Yeah. So my experience of this type of court is, depends on if you go as an individual, you get some license from the judge, and they'll steer you through the process. If we go as a parish council, would we expect them to do that? I don't know. We'd have to take advice. But certainly I don't, I'm quite happy to give it a go, but I'm not sure what's the best thing. I think we should be clear what is the best course of action. and whether we have enough information already to have a strong case. But as I said, when we discussed it last time, which wasn't that long ago, we decided that we were trying to get some extra information before making that final decision.
And have we managed to get any more documentation since then at all?
No. Well, we've had a few things confirmed by a third party.
But no, like, physical documentation, proof of... Right.
Yeah. What was the money paid for?
So no proof of a contract or a remittance or a invoice or...
No. And we're not sure there is a contract.
I wonder if we can get some pro bono advice.
Yes.
Certainly
If there's somebody in the village who'd like
well,
to
there is now.
step forward.
Yes, quite a hard-flying company. So he has offered to look at advice on the lake issues. I've not spoken to him recently, but
Okay.
he is a member of the village.
But, I mean, this tends to be legal specialisation, so if he's an expert on land...
Well, it's such a big... His point was that he didn't have any
Oh, okay.
comprehensive plan, but
he might know
the
something.
company would, and he was going to look into it.
Okay.
So the same rules would apply. So if council wants me to, I'll speak to him, otherwise...
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Does CHALP not have any legal advice? People or departments or NAC or...
Oh, we can ask them.
Surely they must have legal people that could advise.
I suppose that's what we're paying for, isn't it?
Sure.
Yeah.
We can ask.
That's fabulous.
I know somebody who goes out with the bank. Okay, so that's the end of the notable correspondence.
Can I just add in a quick one? Sorry, it was the one that I think Nick, you pointed out hadn't wrote in, but I think I did attach it. It was just about a request for the council to clean the curbs and the roads, which I think.
It was on the email with the agenda, but it did actually appear as an agenda item. So
again, my thoughts on that is we don't have jurisdiction over these roads, and we couldn't go out and suggest that people do cleaning them.
The only thing that I would say is when I've been speaking to Cheshire and Thurs, they actually said to me the other day, you've got a problem with all the grass now growing up over the yellow lines that can't be seen, and we can't tick it if that happens. So I mean, certainly on Mere Lane, I've been out with my bush, but everything needs putting back around that as well, you know. So, but also coming up Park Lane, there's areas there that have got yellow lines that are now, you barely can see them because we've got thicket growing. And so they do need to be cleared.
They do, and that's possibility of Cheshire side.
is it worth us flagging it, particularly with our yellow lines, contacts in the highway, people pointing out that actually the situation is worse, not we're waiting for the yellow lines because the existing lines
It's
don't be.
something that I've done every year for the past 4 years, is contacting them, chasing them. 4 years ago, because they promised me that they were going to be done in November 24. Nothing happened. So
Something else has been happening then as well.
keep chasing them.
I've actually picked my street. I've unpicked my streets, I've just photographed all different areas, really stick on there.
There's another thing that's happened to Kent.
It's not going to be done.
It comes down to, they haven't got the money. There are all places they don't have a place.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think you can't just sit back and say we're not going to chase it. I think we do need to maybe ask the question again, because the day we stop out asking questions, the day we let them off their responsibilities. But I think we just need to keep asking for it to be done. And it is their responsibility. And the problem is that if we, okay, I mean, I've cleared my lane, you've cleared my lane in the past, and lots of people have. But when you start going to something like Park Lane, where you've got cars coming through it, That's right. It's too dangerous for people to go on. There's something's going to happen. So you just have to. We have to rely on them.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I think, just to be clear, you know, what individual people do,
It's
their
their choice. Yeah.
but as a council, we can't go around telling people to go,
Can't sanction volunteers to go and do it. So we just need to do what we can, which is
Just
contact
get
referees.
around the public.
You can't have those laws to just.
but bearing in mind the vicarious liability of doing it. So, without doing it and someone swerves and runs somebody over. I don't think that would happen, but on a faster road, it may be possible. It's all, yeah. But a lot of things, the action comes when, you know, it's the horse and the bottom.
So there's another website part of Treasuries, which is also street cleansing,
Yeah.
which is another kind of fixed measuring thing. So I imagine just like the more people are doing, walking them on both. Anyone else that
Runs inquiry on.
Start to Facebook. Just put a small post on with the links to the places that people could actually contact. They know.
That's recorded.
You never know, once people think work, it's their own quality.
But this way, when you get in a whole website, how to report everything.
You probably really worth doing that.
Okay. Right, so moving on. Who's in the name? Okay, so I think the last week we discussed about the clerk's hours and the clerk and employment committee has requested go together and carry out with this solution. So the idea is to work on, we worked out the average and to go forward with an average of 45 hours for the next 6 months, and then look and see where we are, if the average has gone up or down. Obviously, some of the average would have been skewed by the changeover of the clerk.
Can I just ask, is it possible to, are there any of the jobs or anything that is taking up so much of Lucy's time that can be done by councillors or even by residents, sort of like when people come service people, like the electrician coming to the village hall?
Yeah,
I mean, I do know that there are 1 or 2 people as well in the village who would willingly, who live near here, who would willingly help open up their time.
And again, we have discussed this previously, and I think Krista made the point that some things, if you subcontract them out, they become more difficult than they were before. But I mean, I think people do come here, and when people coming around, so we're sort of thinking that's the base.
Is it a particular area of the job that could either be given someone else, thinking like an RFO, if any of the other councillors wanted to be the RFO, that's been done before? Or, you know, is there any specific block of work or chunk of work that can be passed out?
Well, that's up to Lucy Jory to what those items come from there, whether they're suitable to.
Well, I guess if you're going to have an RFO, then that's, I guess, considerably changing my my hours and job. So I guess that's if that's to decide on.
I don't know if there's anybody that on council is the take over that role. I know it's been done before in previous councils.
Yes.
Is there any other chunks of it, of the job?
So yeah, I mean, so I did actually for the meeting, I showed like a different, showed all my timesheets, which showed all the different, I guess, categories of the different things that I've done. There are certain things that I do try to, so like with Lorraine, we sell to get when there are contractors to let them in. Thankfully, because of the key box, that's also something that's alleviating. That is alleviating. I would say the bigger chunks are going to be correspondence, meetings, so all the it's the agendas, the finances. It would, having an RFO, I mean, it depends if you were wanting a volunteer RFO. I don't know if you get that, but if you have a second person, I don't know if that would alleviate any financial things that would
I can help with the invoice. What I did, you can say for the specific. Yeah, much similar to there are a limited presets, and one of our presets is getting low.
I mean, it's no doubt what you put in. Absolutely no doubt. I mean, is there a way, I may be wrong, to say, yeah, you're on 35 hours, but with up to 45 hours, there's no need to ask the council for an input on that 45 hours.
But I think that's basically proposed in a different way. So what we decided was the best course of action was to move it up to 45 hours. Because obviously, I don't understand this bit, but if you have employees, what's probably most important to them is they know how much money they're making. And then after the 6 months, we would look at the numbers. Because I mean, one of the things that we discussed was the previous clerk was almost drowned by a lot of it vexatious correspondence. And when we had our meeting, it was like, oh, we don't get much correspondence anymore. It's all gone quiet. And then, bang, suddenly everybody wants to write to the clerk again. So I think, this way it's good for the employee because they get a known amount of money every month. And it's good for us because we'll look at it in 6 months. And if it's, if it was just stuff that's seasonal or not reoccurring, then we can adjust it back down. But I do remember Jack telling me that the number of hours that he was meant to do and the number of hours he did was different, and Amanda said the same thing, that the number of hours she got paid for was ridiculous compared to the number of hours she actually do.
I think as well, so if looking at other councils, so another council that I work for, they're also 35 hours, but they don't have any assets.
That's the
So there is a considerable amount of time there that isn't, that is here, that isn't there.
So we did, sorry Alison, we did, so if you remember a couple of months ago we started talking about Lucy's job in the public forum, which I felt a bit uncomfortable about, and then we decided the staffing committee would go away and have a meeting with Lucy and go through all of this in depth and detail and in private, which we did, and we've come back with a recommendation based on all those discussions. I again feel uncomfortable in a public meeting. And it's not unreasonable to talk about saving money for the council.
I'm not seeing any sheets or anything like that, or what volume of work is spent on one
But
thing or another, not the staff.
But the staffing committee were delegated to do that, we've done that, and come back with a recommendation, and I still feel uncomfortable about sort of, I know no one is in any way being nasty to Lucy about her, but I think, I feel a little bit uncomfortable that I know that, but I still think putting her under the microscope about when we've had that discussion in private with her and gone through all of this, and this is our recommendation, I feel uncomfortable continuing to have this conversation again.
Nick, the only thing I would say is that all the other committees have to come back and then discuss it with everybody in council, and this one obviously hasn't been. So that's my point.
So we've discussed it.
Yeah,
Come back with a recommendation.
but we've not seen the nitty gritty of it. So no, why can't we see it? How can we make a decision if we haven't seen something?
Because you delegate about best solution. If we all have to have a meeting, I mean, why do we have committees? Why do we have a lake committee? Let's all get together and discuss. The whole point was that we're going to divide up the work so that everyone doesn't have to do it. And
How many councils on the other councils you want? Two. And it's 45 there.
So, no, 35.
But they don't have assets.
and ours is 35,
Yeah.
is 8%.
I think anybody's.
I should just say
We
this.
can come back a bit later.
Yeah, I think we should say it.
We were reviewing 6 months, but if any councillor wants to have information as long as they treat it confidentially, because we have had several weeks of confidential information in this council, which is concerning, then that's fine. No councillor is going to refuse information, but the 3 councillors that are delegated made the decision that we thought we were delegated to make.
The extra.
Really?
Well, we just.
But we did have that though.
Yeah.
A bit remiss of us to go, oh, well, we can do this, we're going to make you 45. But
I think we vote on it then, and yeah.
those 4. Thank you. So, the next thing is yours, Alison. So, I'm going to paper.
Yeah, the relations. I went to have a look at for the agreements, the statutes, whatever you like to call it. The company that I had originally are in Norfolk. We can still get the Legion ones as well, but the company in Norfolk were only doing them sort of ready for VE Day. We won't be doing them, making them again until later on in the year. So obviously when it's coming up to remembrance. So I was going to suggest that perhaps we leave it for a couple of months and then revisit that one, so that I can get some quotes then. They are the more robust one than the British Legion ones.
Okay. But did I see different sign boards?
Yes, you did. I sent a whole load of different signboards out.
Chairs. On seat.
But it was me that sent that out. I think you were the only one that responded.
Yeah.
Dave.
But
I've chased them up actually, I've had a look at the prices, round about £450. But they are really nice. And it's, I don't know, just a little bit different.
Don't know, did you want to make a decision on the notice board?
Yes, you want. These are some of the quotes that you've got on the notice board. Or we can still can talk about the memorial table.
Well, they've been votes on the
Yeah. I put these quotes together on various different notice boards that are available in different sizes, and you can see from the cheapest one at £166 right up to the more expensive one that had of course got the council name on the top of it at 700 something, but that is quite a large one. The company is Green Barnes that gave me the quotes for most of them. And the one that I particularly thought, which was quite good, is the AF30/DA2, which is a Cube notice board on £451.
That's the one I thought was the best, actually.
I have written to them as well, and they promised me they'd come back to me. They haven't done yet, saying, can you put the parish council thing on the top there? So I'm waiting to hear about that.
Did we ever vote on moving? Didn't you want to move?
Yeah.
That's one.
Well, we can get it first before we go to move them.
No, I know, but just,
So, sorry, this is the very nice sort of double fronted black one. Is that right?
Green.
Oh, the green one. Because I was going to say I prefer the green one.
Yes, the green one.
It's the green one, yeah.
Yeah.
Because
correct me if I'm wrong, the others are all green.
Yes.
Yes. Good, yeah. Yeah, no, that's nice. And can that go on post though? Because we were talking about having it's.
Yeah.
Okay. What do we?
Post.
No, we got this. We're going to post it on before we decide to spend money on this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean,
If you're quite happy with that, then I can go away yet again and get somebody to come out and hopefully they will reply and say, yes, we can put your letter in on for free if you have one. Can but hope. But I need to then go and find somebody that will come, because we did look out at the front there, but there is a tree stump that could well be in the way, so I thought, well, I'll bring it back to council and we can discuss it again.
but this was one of the ideas to be funded by.
I don't donate.
So, is it? I mean, I think for me, we should say this is the one that we think is best.
Yeah.
But now we have to raise money.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't have anyone come out until we'd be interested to know if we can put our name on it, but there's no point in anyone popping out until we can afford it. But it might be we only raised 160 people. We might raise £700. I quite like the one that.
It's a big one, because if you notice, well, I've noticed we're out there and run out of space. Whereas this will take 4, the double fronted one will take 8 inches.
We do then need to know at least some ballpark of the total amounts. So we do need to have a budget for it.
Okay. So are we choosing that one? Right.
How much we need to install, how much of the lakes, and then let's see how much money we can raise.
And is that including that?
Yeah.
Is it the left of it?
Yeah.
We don't pay.
That's what I was thinking. 20%.
I think the business would be doing that. Retail has to be including that.
I'm just looking for a minute, I can say it does say one.
Yeah.
Not one of them.
Well, you can have all various, all thing and all that, more magnets, more keys. All right, I think that's 2 keys or 1 key.
They go all in one. Okay. Right, so next on our list, consider free use of the pavilion.
Yeah.
Are you trying to increase your empire and be saturated in the village hall?
It's a thought, along with somebody, the Jack Atman's that the law events. And between us, we've talked about perhaps opening the pavilion one afternoon a week, which is probably going to be either Tuesday or Thursday to be discussed. As a bit like a pop-in, a bit like the warm welcome, but it's not. What did I put here? It's not to detract from the work of the warm welcome, but it's just open it up. Teas and coffees, anybody wants to walk down, just in a way of getting the pavilion. You people are forever saying, why are we not doing anything with it? And I just think it'd be quite nice. We have quite a large section of dog walkers, and if some of the more senior people or people that are at home all day is down, it's a good mix. People would be happy to sit and chat, and I'm only looking to have it, at no cost until the end of March, and trying to make it self-funding. I have already got 3 people towards a team of 6. I do think we need a team of 6 to do a rota, 3 people at a time. And who knows, it could lead to other things, knitted circles or whatever, but I do believe we should be using the pavilion for the village. I think we don't use it enough for the village.
So,
So, like, tea and cake by the lake, is it that?
Well, it's not so much that, it's, I suppose in a way it is a bit like the warm welcome, but it would be, you know, I would charge probably not, you know, £1 a drink or something, which is,
A bit like Sunday teas used to be.
yeah, and but it's just the fact is, it's in a different area to us, and people can walk down or drive down if, you know, they know about it. It's not just for the more senior residents, shall I say. But like I said, there's a lot of dog walkers go down there. I'd be happy to sit and chat, and anybody that does live alone and comes down, they've got people to chat to. Your dog likes cat, you know. No, just like one day, we have discussed Tuesdays or Thursday from 1 to 3, just a couple of hours. Just to see, I don't know, I've had lots of people talk to me about it, you know, and I tend to agree that we're not doing enough with it.
It sounds a good idea to me, anyway.
And I just think, I mean, I go down at least twice a day, sometimes 3 times a day. There are other people in here that do. And it would be quite nice to just have somewhere to, we can't sit on the benches anymore, not without doing serious damage to ourselves.
Well, I've got to say, I think what our employees would like is somewhere to go and buy a sandwich.
Does that open up a whole different thing?
Depends whether it's prepaid.
Does it?
You make it yourself, then potentially there's an issue. But I think if you do prepaid food, it's
And they would like, but don't be one we act first.
no, but I think
Yeah.
One concern that I had was the fact that suppose it's school holidays, if the other field is fenced off, which we believe, are we going to have an influx of youths, not very well behaved people, and if we've got 2 or 3 more senior ladies, are they going to be?
Well, that's only something you can find out with trial, isn't it?
That's what we,
Yes, I get that.
that, you know,
We
if we didn't have
that.
that open,
Yeah, I get that, Alison.
because there's some not nice people.
There are, but there are also some really lovely people that
Yeah.
go down, families, and that, I don't think would be an issue.
would attract that sort of person.
I don't like the idea of charging the bit if you're going to do it, because I think that
£1, it has to be charged, it'd only be £1.
I know you aren't having it just for residents.
Well, I wouldn't turn people away if they came to it. I would not say I can't serve you because you don't want to do it.
Well, I do have a problem with that then.
Town police, that's, yeah.
I know,
But that's
I think it's okay for residents, but to start you're opening a facility up then for.
Well, that, you know, that's your prerogative.
There's some considerations here. I mean, I think if you open it up, it's whoever turns up. Definitely not fair. You put a huge number of difficulties where people to say sorry, no, you found not where you have the village. I think that does become problematic. The other things that have to be considered. Then if you open the pavilion, are you opening the toilets? Because they should be open. So then, who uses the toilets? Well, if there's anyone down there. I mean, at the end of the day, let me put it like this: if me or you or me, when somebody would want to use the toilet, are you going to stop us if we just go to blunt? You're not. So it then becomes
the far end of.
no. But what I mean is that becomes a consideration. And the final thing is, if we open the toilets at the kitchen, I'm not trying to be negative against it, but when we had the Sunday teas, we cleaned up afterwards as well, so it needs thoroughly cleaning. Do we pay for a cleaner? Do we do all of it? So yeah, so I mean, it's just all I'm putting is the wide view. It's a nice thought to open it. It's well, when, how, and what are the implications,
Well-
the wider implications?
And I get that. Looking at it would not really start till August, which could be worse, I know, because of the school holidays, but that's what we've talked about.
Revenue, sorry.
He's asked, well,
Can I make a suggestion?
yeah,
I mean, it's a lovely idea because Sunday tea are fabulous. I mean, I think they're one of the best things that happened here. But maybe some sort of formal proposal that covers everything.
yeah.
Come back to us with.
I'm happy to come back when people have thought about it.
No, with a full sort of proposal for cleaning, who's using it, what we're going to do if there are people around.
I wouldn't, and I'll be honest with you, turn people away unless they were.
But that's what I mean. We need a full.
What are we going to do? You're going to ask people for their, I don't know, their council tax payment? What if I have my family visiting all the way down from Scotland? They're not allowed to pay my pay because they're not residents.
So, I mean, I really like the idea, you know, but I think Simon's not wrong in that, you know, we always ask about people using our things, you know, what's the insurance situation, what's the risk assessment situation, you know, all of that. I think if you know, what we don't want to do is end up with people in a potentially dangerous position or so that wouldn't make me say, you know, you can't do it, but I think I'd want to know that all of that is, you know what I mean? So there was a plan for, oh, actually, we were going to open today, but you know what, there's 3, you know, groups of drunk lads on the field. That's not today, or whatever. Do you know those?
And that's what I mean about with full proposals to, and then we can really see how you intend to run it.
I'll speak to the lady and we'll come back.
And also, would it be only 2 hours then? Surely there'd be, you know, half an hour of cleaning as well.
Well, it'd be, well, maybe, yeah.
Again,
I guess some idea of what, you know, what the cost is going to be to the council in seeing you.
Yeah.
Presumably a bit of electricity and a bit of cleaning stuff if you can use the cleaning stuff that's already there. Do you know what I mean? It's not, it doesn't sound like big costs, but I guess.
But the
it
thing
should
is,
just be
I'm
somewhere.
happy to buy clean stuff, things like that. To me, it's negligible. I know, but honestly, Simon, it really doesn't bother me with things.
You're going to get to being able to pay.
I would like to try it till the end of March, at the end of the year.
Yeah. But the idea is to sell stuff.
But then the idea is that that if it's been a success, I think we make it self-funding.
So if you're selling stuff, then like, as you pay for cleaning stuff is.
And where's the money going?
Just back into it.
And who's looking after those accounts?
Well, I don't know, that's something that we discussed with the person that's doing it with me. I'm not allowed to mention.
I mean, is it parish council, is it a parish council initiative then, or is it a?
Well, I'm asking them, I would like it to be, but.
I think the point when we just need full proposals that we can send the suggestions. It's all agreeing that it's a good idea. But
I just, 2 hours a week. But anyway, I'll bring something to the
I
next
think the
meeting.
tea and cake was not because of all the problems that were down there eventually. I think that you
I
could.
thought it was COVID.
no, it didn't. It was going before, but and also getting volunteers. But that's a.
That's what we got. So, yeah. Okay. So, we happy to.
Yeah, I'll bring it back to the next time.
You know, this one's going to be really good.
Okay, so report the council's surgery. So, we would like to give us an update, bearing in mind that what we want to know is things that were raised. So the topics that were of interest at the council surgery is.
Well, one of the topics that was raised was obviously trying to claim money back on the gate. And we've obviously discussed that already tonight. So I don't think we need to elaborate on that. Does anybody else have a...
That's not a.
Sorry.
Oh,
I'm reading gate, lower down. The fence, yeah, fence money. And then the other person, we've obviously also discussed that tonight, was planning on Pickmere Lake Park, which we've obviously already discussed as well. So they were both topics that were
already. Okay. So moving on to the next item. So as I said in my opening address, was it in my opening address? I was in the public forum to answer the question. So at the September 2024 meeting, it was agreed, following a discussion on the report previously produced by the chair, it was agreed the gate would be locked until the 25th of March meeting, where a decision will be reviewed, or the decision will be reviewed. So obviously we missed the March meeting, and it's been put on for today. So the locking of the black gate at the IROS is a polarising discussion point. There was originally we did it in response to criminal and antisocial behaviour, mainly around the time of locking the gate. So I think at the time the reasons for locking the gate were to maintain access to the lake for emergency services on sunny days. However, we have had issues with allowing emergency services on non-sunny days because the gate was locked. So there was a athlete who collapsed at the lake, and the ambulance service had to run down the hill because they couldn't get their ambulance through the gate. The two times the fire and rescue service have turned up, they haven't been able to get their fire engine through the gates. Whatever reason to do with the locks. Although when they got to the fun day, they did manage to get onto the field.
I think that the last...
Jane?
I'm sorry, no.
So certainly locking the gate in the evening could increase burden of use. Volunteers doing the task. We know that residents having issues with those people being locked in, thinking that all residents knew what the code the lock was. There was one instance of criminal damage as a result of somebody's car being locked in. And certainly the feedback, and one of the reasons with the police was that they weren't on the locking of the gate, that it should either be open or closed. I think we're just talking about what we were talking about just then. I think, as I said earlier, when people rent the IROS, they rent the IROS including things like the parking. So I think there will be times when the gate wouldn't need to be locked if it was unlocked, because if you're doing party by the lake, then quite clearly you need the spaces that go with that, whether that's for skips or for people who are attending the event. We know about the noise of visitors going down to the IROS from dawn to dusk. Not sure that closing the gate has stopped that at all. So in terms of reasons for why people would want the gate locked, certainly we've had a few bits of correspondence around that. Or against locking the gate is
a lot of, yeah, I have to say, I heard it quite often before I became elected, that a lot of people in the village, one of their mantras is Pickmere is not just a lake. I know that there are some people consistently on the outskirts of the village who are put off by the fact that the gates are locked and they believe there'll be no spaces for them if they go down. I think reducing the available car spaces does push the. We have one meeting. Yeah. Okay, thank you. So reducing the available parking spaces at the lake does push the area, or does push the situation onto other roads. Clover Drive is that's an example. So we have cones on a Clover Drive. They work really well until there are no spaces left, and then people just park where they want. So if there were 5 or 7 more spaces down at the lake, that would be 5 or 7 cars that wouldn't be on Clover Drive, and therefore roads like Clover Drive would be open longer. And then, but I think the locking the gate was supported by antisocial and criminal behaviour. That it sends a clear message that the land is private and reduces noise pollution. Well, I have to say I haven't seen any evidence that anyone thinks the land is more private and reduces any more pollution just because the gate's locked. So, but obviously the other side is that locking the gate unfairly restricts parking for some residents to the lake. It doesn't seem to make too much difference in terms of how visitors treat the land. Not help the parking situation in the village, perhaps only just moved it to other places. So I know it's a emotive situation, but I can see, as always, arguments for non-locking the gate. We've tried locking, and then come back and look at it. Maybe it's a time to look at unlocking back and in the future. So that's my report. I don't know. I will open it up to the for comment. Cool.
Okay. Well, I've gone on Facebook and had a look first of all, and the sort of comments that people are getting that people come and visit to the lake are: the parish council are awful. I've not been this year because the gate's locked and there's nowhere to park. We had to walk half a mile down the road once the yellow lines have stopped. Another one, it's not much a ticket, it's having the car towed away. That is the parish council latest deterrent.
Just something that, so as parish council, we're here to represent residents
but what my
of the village.
Point is that,
and we don't run a council by people write on Facebook.
I'm making comments of what people are saying about the gate being locked, that it's been a very good deterrent because people haven't. Before they respond back and you go into other places, they know when they come here, the gate's locked, there's 7 spaces, and they know that there's active traffic wardens in the area, they know that they're going to be possibly towed away, they know there's going to be problems. And also the other one was, if the gate's closed, it's very difficult to get a 14-foot, 15-foot paddleboard through. So as far as I'm concerned, we are making a massive deterrent there. I'm also just going to send some pictures round of another reason, the biggest reason why the black gate should be kept locked, and that is because the black gate, the land outside the black gate, the police, the traffic wardens, they can do anything, they can tow any people away. Once you get through those gates and people are parking in front of the gates there, where the emergency services might want to come down, they've not got a chance. Not a chance when you see all these cars parked in front of it. So my recommendation is definitely to keep it closed. And they cannot bump a car, they cannot move a car. In 2021, I said it the other day, when the accident and emergency came down, they could not They could not get down at all. They couldn't get their vehicle down to access that point of the water. Now, the Black Gate would do that, and the reason why it would do it is nobody parks in front of it. It can be opened, but if they haven't got, even if they haven't got a code, which will go down a petty thing of code, they will bolt proper it and go down through. They'll bolt proper the other and get down to the lake, and they won't have anybody getting in the way. And that is my point. And if you can't take the idea of safety above everything else, then I think we're a very, very poor council.
But for how many years ago? Gate open, gate closed issue been going on. The way you're solving that is to get rid of the need for gate. So if maybe this is something to go forward with. The reason the gate open, gate closed discussion or debate is there is because there's car parking spaces there. Maybe the discussion should be, should we get rid of the car parking spaces in that area? Then there wouldn't be this debate over whether we should use those extra ones, whether we should have the gate open. You know, could it be turned into grass? Could it be replanted, dug up? I don't know. I mean, that is an alternative way of looking at it, to get rid of that. I'm not saying it's a definite way, but isn't maybe approaching it from that angle is a different angle to go at, rather than saying we're stopping people getting to those car parking spaces. If they're no longer there, it's no longer a discussion point. The gate is there as access to the fields, not access to car parking.
Trouble is, the road is still there, and those pictures show people parking out.
Yeah, oh yeah, I know, but what I'm trying to do is just get rid of one aspect of it. It's things
Well,
like
you're not suggesting get rid of the parking spaces and open the gate. Then keep the gate shut. But the debate about the parking spaces is the spaces because we use it for something else.
And then there's not an argument to say, well, open the gates for this car parking spaces in. But no, it's just a thought. It's not a.
I mean, it's maybe something that as a council we need to start thinking as an alternative to.
I mean, point around to, so I did a couple of points. One on safety. So there was a resident of Clover Drive who was crushed under his own car while doing some repairs. Because of all the cars parked on Clover Drive, the fire service could not get down Clover Drive. So they had to run down Clover Drive with jacks. So safety is not just at the lake, it's at the other residents' homes. So the same argument is, if we don't allow...
You can just let the cones working.
The cones work until there's no parking spaces left, and then people drive over the cones. So it works while there's somewhere for them to park. The second there's nowhere for them to park, they move the cones. There's one guy who comes in a pickup truck every week, he drives over the cones, and every week billies one cone. Because he deliberately drives up and down.
Well, it's damage then if you know it's every 2 years.
Well, we'll have to, that's another story. But we can't.
If you know the person who keeps on driving over a cone, then you
we'll
know,
go like
I know what I'll be doing.
We're going to the tender because we can't separate the safety of people in one part of the village from the safety of people using the lake. So that would be, on the other point, in 106, we're meant to meet with the authority and discuss car parking. So we should still be looking at parking.
It's in the first 5 years.
Could I?
Cool.
So I was against locking the gate when we were first looking at locking the gate because I was concerned about exactly what you mentioned about taking away those parking spaces at the lake and moving more cars elsewhere into the village. And I think that does happen, definitely, because it's, I don't remember if it's 5 or 6, but those spaces.
6.
So basically, we all know what happens. People drive down to Lake, they fill up their spaces, and then they spread out from there. So some may spread towards the orchard, some spread up the lane, and then others go to Clover Drive, and then on down the road from there. If there were 5 more spaces available at the lake, that would be 5 fewer cars parked down there.
There'll be 5 more coming.
So once you've got 5 more cars wherever it is, that's the village that bit closer to being full and, you know, gridlocked. It's only 5, but it does mean that a moderately sunny day becomes a parking issue, whereas it'd be a very sunny day, we have a parking issue previously. It has, I think, made some things worse. I agreed I voted for, I'm pretty sure, the locking late when it did because of the issues we were having around the risk to the volunteers who were opening and closing the gate. So I certainly wouldn't want to go back to that situation of us opening and closing the gate on a daily basis because I'd only get exchanged and that effect. So we've got the option of either locking the gate closed or locking the gate open. I don't have a very strong feeling one way or the other on it, because I think there's pros and cons to both, and I don't know how we weigh up the detriment caused by locking it against the detriment caused by opening it.
This is what I was saying, the alternative, I mean, I'm not saying that's a solution, what I came up with, it's just one of those things, but it does, if you get rid of the parking spaces, there isn't a need for the gate to be, the argument over whether the gate is open or closed to be there. It doesn't need to be open because there's nowhere for the cars to go.
But
I'm just
but it's the same decision as that. Yeah, because what it's saying is there's 5 spaces there that we're getting rid of, right? We're getting rid of them by lack of gate, or we're getting rid of them by dealing. But it's the same decision effectively. It's because the people who want it open so there's more parking available, not on the streets. So it's the same decision really, although I agree it's a nuance by it. But
let's face it, the last 2 years, it's you may as well not have those parking spaces.
I disagree, because
they've not been used, have they?
Yes, I'm saying so therefore,
yeah, no, what I mean,
locking the gate has made the parking worse, only a little bit worse, but worse elsewhere. And the issue on Clover Drive, which I live on, is that, as Ewan says, it's fine when you've got 6 or 8 cars parked there, but once you've got 10 or 12, they start double parking and blocking the road. So it is only 5 spaces, but actually those 5 extra cars suddenly can flip another road, and it generally is Clover Drive, to becoming a very difficult road to navigate. And then the access for emergency vehicles to all of those residents versus the people at the lake.
What about the overnight camper vans that we had one last week that came last week or the week before that stayed for 4 nights? The gate was locked, yes it was. But yes it will, because they'll go further down and there'll be more of them.
Okay. So people just reminded we've got 47 move the clock. We've got 2 minutes left. So it's only one that has anything they want to add to the discussion. Well, we can either vote or we can defer it to the next meeting. But we have to decide in the next 126.
And whatever we decide on, we'll stop all the nonsense.
So the proposal we're voting on that we continue with the lock gate.
those for open and those for closed.
Well, we got the simplest way, isn't it?
Yes. I didn't want it open, vote yeah.
Right, so take a vote, open or closed. Who would like to?
We put in a time limit on
We're voting now.
it. No,
Yeah, we will review it.
Or whatever.
We'll review it in September. There you Okay, so those that want to continue with the gate locked.
Staying. Yeah, I'm not.
Yeah.
That's the decision.
The last year the helicopter landed on the field.
All right. That's unfortunately we don't have time to go to a closed session. Thank you all for your time.